Great show. All right, welcome to Hannity. A busy news night. So with zero evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, 442 days of stupidity into this Mueller partisan witch hunt. Well, your mainstream corrupt media is literally in this country desperately searching for a new crisis every second of every day. This time they're trying to focus their attention on their favorite topic. Oh, themselves. They're narcissistic. And one particularly devout anti-Trump fake journalist over at fake news CNN is so openly concerned the president's rhetoric could endanger members of the media. But we're going to show you how the White House press secretary, Sarah Sanders, absolutely decimated this person. We'll tell you about it in a minute during today's very tense briefing. Plus, we're going to help remind the anti-Trump fake news CNN network why so many Americans chant at you that you suck. Americans don't trust your abusively biased coverage. And despite the constant stream of negative coverage from the media, well, the president's poll numbers are going higher and higher and higher, which, by the way, comes as the administration is now combating, quote, Russia election meddling in a big way, something that Obama failed to actually do. Obama said this couldn't happen in this country. Trump needs to focus on getting voters and stop whining. Okay, moments ago, by the way, the president wrapped up a massive rally in Pennsylvania. We'll show you those best moments. We also have the very latest details, day 3 of the Paul Manafort trial of the century, a 2005 tax case. Sit tight, buckle up. It's almost Friday. Time for tonight's breaking news opening monologue. We're glad you're with us. All right, those crisis peddlers are at it again. Your mainstream destroy Trump media has constantly tried and constantly failed to sink the Trump presidency. And night after night, they're pushing scandal after scandal. It's day after day, and now it has come full circle. Now, tonight, the outrage of the day is centered around members of the media talking about themselves and their own little bubble, and how some believe that the president's rhetoric and conservative rhetoric and people chanting at them and any criticism against them actually is putting them in danger. All right, let's be very clear, get it off the table, as I said last night. Violence against any member of the press, frankly, anybody, is reprehensible. No one that I know, no real conservative would ever call for or support any violence against the media. But I also said last night I'd be the first person to jump in and personally defend any journalist who was attacked anywhere in the country. And by the way, I trained 5 days hard, MMA. Frankly, I think I'd be an asset to them. And I'm pretty confident I can be effective. But let's also be clear. The fact that the people of this country are so fed up with their bias, their lying, is not a call for violence at all. As a matter of fact, it's actually freedom of speech and our duty to call out blatant lies, fake news for what it is. And it's no surprise that you, the American people, no longer trust the so-called mainstream media. Here's just one recent example. Today, the Trump-hating New York Times, the so-called paper of record, they actually defended the hiring of a person who once tweeted, quote, hashtag, cancel white people, and, quote, are white people genetically predisposed to burn faster in the sun, thus logically being only fit to live underground like groveling goblins, end quote. I was equating Trump to Hitler before it was cool. That's the New York Times. Why would the American people trust any organization that proudly hires that person? Now, today, the president tweeted, quote, they asked my daughter, Ivanka, whether or not the media is the enemy of the people. She correctly said no. It is the fake news, which is a large percentage of the media, that is the enemy of the people. Now, the press is absolutely a vital part of any democracy. Their rights are guaranteed in our Constitution, but so are the rights to freedom of speech and the president calling them out for the lies that they tell. And the American people also have a right. And when they know a network is feeding them lies, propaganda, misinformation every single second of every single minute of every single day, week after week, month after month, year after year, they're right to call them out. In fact, one so-called news network is so blinded by this anti-Trump derangement rage that they have, they don't even remember how destructive, how aggressive, how insane, how pathological their own rhetoric was even before day 1 of the Trump presidency. But we've got the videotape to remind you. Take a look.
What he's done is create a lot of hatred and hostility between groups in this country after a half century of us trying to bring people together.
Are the talking heads missing something when they pin it all on the economy? What about racial anxiety as a factor? So the Arizona Republic getting so many death threats over an endorsement is an example of how overheated the rhetoric is. Another example out of North Carolina today, the firebombing of a local GOP office. Yeah. But that kind of action is unacceptable. And we need to have the temperature come down on all sides right now. Unfortunately, Donald Trump is the lead in terms of raising the temperature at this moment in time.
I think that if there's one thing that Donald Trump could do now that might calm some people, we're on track for a tragedy.
No, we're on the track for the best economic recovery we've had in 15 years. So as you can see, fake news CNN quick to lower the level of discourse in this country. That was the same guy that said this is a white lash. But that didn't stop CNN's so-called chief White House correspondent, the king of lies, the king of fake news, Jimmy Acosta, from trying to self-righteously seize the moral high ground at today's press briefing. But by the way, he didn't win this round. Take a look.
I think it would be a good thing if you were to say right here at this briefing that the press, the people who are gathered in this room right now, doing their jobs every day, asking questions of officials like the ones you brought forward earlier, are not the enemy of the people. I think we deserve that. I
think the president has made his position known. I also think it's ironic. I'm trying to answer your question. Okay, well, I politely waited, and I even called on you despite the fact that you interrupted me while calling on your colleague. Well, I said it's ironic.
Which is why I interrupted.
I'm trying.
But if you finish, if you would not mind letting me have a follow-up, that would be fine. But
it's ironic, Jim, that not only you and the media attack the president for his rhetoric when they frequently lower the level of conversation in this country. Repeatedly, the media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger.
Boom, checkmate Sarah Sanders. She then helped remind fake news Jim Acosta about the real enablers of violence in this country during this powerful beatdown. Take a look.
The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as I know, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required Secret Service protection. The media continues to ratchet up the verbal assault against the president and everyone in this administration, and certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
Checkmate Sarah Sanders. As you can see, there are real acts of violence, harassment, aggression. It happens every day. There are a lot of nuts out there. I know personally. Like so many in the public eye, I've had numerous death threats over the years, white powder mailed to my office, and guess what? None of that is fun. And I'll be the first to stand up and say everybody has a right to freedom of speech. But saying that you're a liar and calling out fake news is only words. Nobody's supporting any violence. So don't make accusations that are untrue. Many in the media, they're all too happy to play down violence that have been over the years perpetrated against conservatives. For example, just today, a man arrested after leaving Majority Whip Steve Scalise a threatening voicemail. Remember, 2017, Steve Scalise, Republican, was shot by a deranged Bernie Sanders supporter. I don't remember the biased press assigning blame for that violence, and nor did I. You can't hold one psycho accountable and attribute it to some other person. Now, remember, during the Obama administration, no member of the mainstream media feared for their lives or blamed Obama for random acts of violence against conservatives because he said things like this.
I might have to put Mr. Burgess on Fox News. You know, give him. I'll put Mr. Burgess up against Sean Hannity. He'll tear them up. I need you to go out and talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors. I want you to talk to them whether they're independent or whether they are Republican. I want you to argue with them and get in their face.
Sean Hannity goes high, they go low. Tear me up? Oh, get in their face? Wow. As you can see, all the feigned moral outrage coming from many in the media, it's just one more fake crisis that is being concocted and pushed by the fake news media, people that are just hell-bent, waking up every day and maligning the president. Every minute, every second, every day, every week. And despite all of this, the president, well, he's polling better than ever before. Rasmussen poll out today. The president's approval rating now stands at a solid 50%, which, incidentally, is 5 points higher than Obama during the same time frame. This is huge news with the midterms just around the corner. And earlier tonight, during his rally in Pennsylvania, the president, well, and the abusively biased press, he took them on and so much more. Let's take a look.
We're doing better in all of these states than we did on election night. Much better. Despite only negative publicity, only negative stories from the fakers back there. Whatever happened to fair press? Whatever happened to honest reporting? I was asked to have tea with the Queen, who is incredible, by the way. So I was about 15 minutes early, and I'm waiting with my wife, and that's fine. Hey, it's the Queen, right? We can wait. We then go up and we have tea. And I didn't know this. It was supposed to last for 15 minutes, but it lasted for like an hour because we got along. We got along. So here was the story by the fake news. The president was 15 minutes late for the Queen. Wrong. And then here's the rest of the story. No, here's the rest. Here's the rest of the story. So they said I was late when I was actually early, number one. Number two, I guess the meeting was scheduled for 15 minutes, and it lasted for almost an hour. The president overstayed. But they can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
And the president also addressed immigration. By the way, a shout out to Rush Limbaugh and yours truly. I was shocked. Take a look.
We're fighting a war, and we're fighting a war on drugs. They're bringing in drugs. They're bringing in lots of bad people. We're getting to hell. We're stopping it. So we're going to be taking some very tough actions. I don't know if it's before the election or after the election. You know, a lot of the Republicans say, and they're good. They're good. We need more Republicans, but they're friends of mine. They say, President, you know, and some of them are really tough guys, and they said, sir, we're better off if we wait till after. I say, it's better before. Let's do it before. Sir, we're better off. You know who thinks it should be before? Rush Limbaugh thinks it should be before the election. You know who else? Sean Hannity. A lot of them. A lot of them. Great people.
Do it before. We're 96 days away. This is not hyperbole. This is real. The single most important midterm election in our lifetime. Look at your screen. That is their agenda. Take a look. What do they want to do? They want to impeach this president, but don't say it. And what else? They want their crumbs back. What else? They want to get rid of ICE and open borders. And what else? Oh, they want to block the Supreme Court nominee and end the investigations into their corrupt deep state. It's only been 18 months. Obama gave us 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty, lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, worst recovery since the 40s, 51-year low in home ownership rate. He accumulated more debt than every other president before him combined. And then he tried to bribe the mullahs in Iran that say death to America, death to Israel, with $150 billion in cash and other currency. He let Assad cross his phony red line in the sand. And Russia, well, was left totally unchecked. Oh, nobody can influence our elections. Devin Nunes warned about it in 2014. Oh, and President Trump needs to stop whining. No one could do it. No serious person believes that. And many on the left and the media today are constantly just obsessing about Russia, Russia, Russia. The Trump administration has been 10 times stronger than anything Obama did. And after 8 years of ignoring the hostile regime of Russia, the bad actor Putin, this president is actually taking potential election meddling seriously. Look at the presser from earlier today.
Since January 2017, the president has taken decisive action to defend our election systems from meddling and interference. This includes measures to heighten the security and resilience of election systems and processes, to confront Russian and other foreign malign influence in the United States.
The progress we have made is real, and the nation's elections are more resilient today because of the work we are all doing. But we must continue to ensure that our democracy is protected.
What we see is the Russians are looking for every opportunity, regardless of party, regardless of whether or not it applies to the election, to continue their pervasive efforts to undermine our fundamental values.
Any moment is just a moment before, the dial can be turned up one, much as we saw in 2016. Again, not in terms of affecting the vote count, but in terms of potential penetration of voter registration databases or something like that.
President's actually countering Russia, but your corrupt media is more focused on covering the trial of the century, Paul Manafort, because of a tax issue from 2005, a case not about Russia, not about the 2016 campaign, not about President Trump. He didn't know him then. It's not about collusion. Robert Mueller, what the hell is this? And sadly, like every federal case, chances are high they can indict a ham sandwich and get a ham sandwich guilty. But so far, Mueller's legal team is facing pretty stiff pushback from Judge Ellis, who's presiding over that trial, after some speculation that the prosecution wouldn't even call their star witness. And that's former Manafort business partner Rick Gates. Ellis reprimanded Team Mueller, saying they can't prove conspiracy without him. And he's also consistently pushed back on the prosecution's criminalizations of the fact that the guy is wealthy. It's not a crime to be rich or spend money. We'll monitor this trial, but remember, it was Ellis that said they're putting the screws to Manafort so that he'll sing or compose so they can either, prosecute or impeach Donald Trump. Now, this has zero impact on the president, not about him. Mueller tried and failed to turn the screws on Manafort, and guess what? Nothing. Anyway, joining us now from the Trump Organization, he's the son of the president, Eric Trump. How are you?
That was
Great
such an incredible monologue.
Thank you. Sorry to make you sit through this. Look, you dealt with this in the campaign. You deal with this every day. You see they lie about your father. They twist, they turn, but they wake up and feign all this moral outrage. I would think as a son it's hard, but you also know they're lying.
Yeah. The hypocrisy is unlike anything you can ever imagine, right? You have them attacking Barron. You have them attacking Tiffany. You have them attacking our entire family. You have them out there spewing garbage every single day on CNN and all these other networks about my father, right? Covering nonsense while forgetting about the fact that our economy grew at 4.1%, that we have the lowest unemployment in history, that jobs are coming back to the country, that the stock market's at record high. They forget all about that.
Defeat ISIS, got out of Iran. Jerusalem's the capital of Israel. Oh, and little Rocket Man's not firing rockets.
So they spew nonsense all day, and then little Jim Acosta gets, belittled at a rally, and all of a sudden, I'm holier than. I mean, it's really incredible.
Without detail, has your family been threatened?
I've been threatened. Our family's been threatened. All of us. We've all had white powder show up at our house, right?
By the way, I had an assistant that had to one day, she was quarantined, this poor assistant, for 8 hours because of that.
And by the way, there's no moral outrage about that, right? When Ben Shapiro goes to Berkeley to try and give a speech, right, and there's protests in the street, there's no moral outrage about that. Let the man have freedom of speech. Let him go out there and speak to people who want to listen to him. But when it happens to them, when they're offended by a message, all of a sudden.
Did you see what they said about Melania, a Democratic candidate, this week? What they've said about both your sisters.
And you know what? You know how much I was reported? That comment on Melania, which was one of the truly most disgusting things.
Yeah.
You know what they said about that? Nothing. You know who was the only person who actually really, came to Melania's ban? Was Laura Ingraham. Laura came out and she was punching and
Hello.
And you, obviously.
Okay, hello, I'm here.
But you know what? No one else in the media did anything about it, and it's disgusting.
By the way, she is the loveliest woman.
It's true.
Your little brother is a great kid.
Yep.
Why does he have to turn on a television set with a decapitated, bloody, severed head of your father?
Yep.
And by the way, that person was employed by CNN at the time.
And no one ever says anything about it. And then when a couple people chant, CNN sucks. All right, CNN sucks because of this biased coverage and everything else.
By the way, Eric,
all of a sudden, everybody starts crying. It's really incredible, Sean.
CNN sucks.
I agree.
The problem with them, and I tried to give them advice, of course, they're not going to listen, is I don't even think it's sort of like I was watching Peter Strzok that day, and he seems like he believes he's a super patriot, that he knew better than the American people. We're going to stop him. We're going to have an insurance policy. We need to get to the bottom of that. And of course, we will eventually. But it's sort of like the media. They never thought he could win. They mocked that he was running. He beat 16 other people. He beat the Hillary Clinton machine, even with a fix-in and an investigation into her, and won against him, which you didn't know about.
Downplay it. Now they downplay it. It's really amazing. During the campaign, my father said, my biggest goal, if I could achieve 3% GDP growth, I would absolutely love it, right? So now he's at 4.1% GDP growth, right? And they're not even touting that. They were mocking him when he said he could achieve 3. He'll never achieve 3. The New York Times came out and said he'll never achieve 3% GDP growth. Economists think he's lying about that. Then he achieves 4.1% growth, and they don't even compliment him on doing it. I mean,
I'm actually convinced if he cured cancer,
they wouldn't give him credit. No, they wouldn't give him credit. Of course not.
Okay, so now the question is, it seems that the people are now aware of what the media's agenda is. So to me, this midterm is about the 6 items that I just mentioned. You are even working on 2020 already. But we got an election in 96 days. What do you say to those people that maybe only go out for presidential elections and there's a lower turnout in midterm election years?
Well, listen, I think we're going to do very, very well. And I think this country, by every quantifiable measure, is doing better today than it's ever done before. People are seeing that. And I think, listen, you started the opening monologue with the fact that he's above 50% in the polls right now, right?
I think he polls low, too.
His highest ever. Yeah, and I think you're right. There's probably extra factor in there. Our economy is doing incredible. Our stock markets are off the chart. He's actually defending this country from NATO, from getting ripped off.
Trade deals.
Unemployment, trade deals, everything. The deal that he just struck with the EU last week.
Imagine you're in a position and things are getting better, and for when America does well, the Democrats and the left-wing media, they're mad because they're proven wrong.
They should be mad. They should be mad because right now they have nothing to run on. They have no leadership. They have no message. They don't stand for anything. He's doing well by every quantifiable measure. So the only thing that they can do is, oh, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a this, he's a that, right? The same soundbite that they've used for the last 3 years. It hasn't worked at all.
They've used it for the 30 years.
They have nothing. What do they stand for? They stand for what? High taxes? Is that what they stand for? They stand for
the crumbs.
Getting rid of,
open borders, Obamacare.
Open borders, getting rid of ICE, brave men and women who are fighting for the safety of our families, of our children every single day. Is that what they're going for? They're going to lose that all day long, Sean. They're going to lose that all day long.
Great to see you again. Congrats on the baby, too. I saw a picture. Very cute.
Thank you. Thank you. He's a good little
looks like
guy.
cute mom.
Good.
Yeah, I'm teasing. All right, when we come back, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich and the great one, Mark Levin, straight ahead.
Republicans just passed the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. And the Democrats want to lift them way up. Remember that when you go to vote, they want to end your tax cuts and they want to lift it up so they can waste your money on a lot of nonsense.
All right, that was President Trump earlier tonight at his Pennsylvania rally. Joining us now, the author of the New York Times bestseller, Trump's America, The Truth About Our Nation's Great Comeback, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. You know districts as well, if not better than anybody I know. I've reminded this audience that I was the MC the night you became Speaker. It was the first time that Republicans took the House in 40 years. So in off-year elections, midterm elections, the party in power at the White House usually loses on average 15 seats. Some years it's more, some years it's even a little less. There are 100 competitive races. 86 are deemed Republicans defend districts. That's a lot of defending. They got to win 61 of those seats and 3 of the 14 Democratic seats that are in play.
Well, look, I think we have 2 futures this fall. You know, back in October of 2016, when you and I were among the very few people who thought Donald Trump could win, and all of these same experts, everybody right now who's talking about a blue wave, was convinced Hillary was going to win. Just go back and pull up the clips and the quotes. It's embarrassing. Now, what happened? Well, what happened was Trump had the guts to fight it out. He had the guts to go nose to nose with Hillary. He had the guts to take on the elite media. He had the guts, no matter what the poll said, to campaign 5 or 6 or 7 rallies a day. So where are the House Republicans? This is not complicated. I've done this for my whole life. Joe Gaylord and I, and you know Joe, who helped design the '94 campaign, are writing a brief paper right now to say to House Republicans, you know, suck it up. If you're prepared to go nose to nose with the left, and you're prepared to tell the truth, and you're willing to wage a national campaign, you want open borders, or do you want to control who comes in the U.S., including M.S. Thornstein gangsters? You want really great economy, really great growth, or do you want to go back to food stamps, dependency, big government, et cetera? Go down the list. We have a chance here for a historic election to give the American people an honest choice between a radical, extremist Democratic Party in which the progressive wing is gradually being destroyed by the radical extremists, or they can try to appease the elites. And I'll tell you, if they run a district-by-district campaign, they will lose the House. It is impossible in the modern era. You're proof of it. Rush Limbaugh's proof of it. You're in 435 districts every day. And so Republicans got to decide they're going to win the fight. They're going to win the argument. They got all the issues on their side. But the question is, do they have the courage?
Let me ask you this. So the president tweets out about Robert Mueller, tweets out about Jeff Sessions, about the witch hunt. He was very clear in saying that, no, it's fake news. Most media is not the enemy of the people, but the fake news ones are, because they don't tell the American people the truth. What does the president do? How should he be dealing with this cloud that has been hovering over his head with no evidence whatsoever? Like, for example, Paul Manafort. There's nothing about Russia, nothing about the president, nothing about the campaign, nothing about collusion. It was a 2005 tax case, but Hillary Clinton's never been indicted. How does he navigate what he believes, and what I also agree with, is unfair and a witch hunt leading into this midterm?
Look, I think he can do 3 things that would be very decisive and that would change the whole picture. The first is, let me just point out to everybody in the audience, 98 or 99% of what Mueller's doing is not covered by Sessions' recusal over the Russian campaign incident. 98 or 99%. Sessions, if he did his job, could intervene tonight or tomorrow and would be totally within his authority, and he should. Number 2, the president ought to take every single example we're talking about and simply declassify it. I mean, I want to see every decision memo about Benghazi where the Obama team consciously decided to lie to the American people. I want to see all the decision memos about Hillary Clinton. The president can order them released. I mean, he has the ability by executive order to say, I want them out by next Thursday. Don't give me this baloney about it's going to take 22 years. Get them out. Third, I think we ought to look very carefully at what this case is all about. Mueller has hired a bunch of very left-wing Democrats. They are clearly a hunting party. And I think the president should challenge Mueller head on. Mueller, he should say to the president, he should say to Mueller, I dare you to hold a press conference and tell the American people any evidence you have that you think is relevant to why you were originally hired. Give us any evidence you have, because I don't think Mueller has any evidence, and I think it'll be embarrassing at how little he knows.
This Manafort
what
case,
he's done is he's gone over there.
I think that's embarrassing. A 2005 tax case. The judge even said it. Put the screws to him so he sings or composes to either prosecute or impeach Trump. Let's not kid ourselves. And the judge said that to Mueller's team. All right, Mr. Speaker, good to see you. As always, thanks for being with us. All right, when we come back, the great one, Mark Levin, he wants to weigh in on all things Mueller, Manafort, and much more. Straight ahead.
According to the government, we do not exist. We're ghosts, but we're very real. We live in a new world. There are some very evil people out there. People sleep peacefully because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. If we fail, there is no backup plan. We are Overwatch. And we get things done.
Mile 22, August 17th.
Managing my type 2 diabetes wasn't my top priority until I held her. I found my Traceba reason. Now I'm doing more to lower my A1C. I take Traceba once a day. Traceba controls blood sugar for 24 hours for powerful A1C reduction.
We'd been counting down to his retirement. It was our Traceba reason. He needs insulin to control his high blood sugar, and at his age, he's at greater risk for low blood sugar. Traceba releases slow and steady and works all day and night, like the body's insulin.
Traceba is a long-acting insulin used to control high blood sugar in adults with diabetes. Don't use Traceba to treat diabetic ketoacidosis, during episodes of low blood sugar, or if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. Don't share needles or insulin pens. Don't reuse needles. The most common side effect is low blood sugar, which may cause dizziness, sweating, confusion, and headache. Check your blood sugar. Low blood sugar can be serious and may be life-threatening. Injection site reactions may occur. Tell your prescriber about all medicines you take and all your medical conditions. Taking TZDs with insulins like Traceba may cause serious side effects like heart failure. Your insulin dose shouldn't be changed without asking your prescriber. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing, fast heartbeat, extreme drowsiness, swelling of your face, tongue, or throat, dizziness, or confusion.
I found my Traceba reason. Find yours.
Ask your healthcare provider about Traceba. Covered by most commercial health insurance and Medicare Part D plans.
I've seen lots of homes helping new customers bundle and save big, but now it's time to find my dream abode.
Right away, I could tell his priorities were a little unorthodox.
Keep going. Stop. A little bit down. Stop. Back up again. Is this adequate sunlight for a Komodo dragon?
Yeah.
Sure, I want that discount on car insurance just for owning a home, but I'm not compromising.
You're taking a shower?
Water pressure's crucial, Scott. It's like they say, location, location, koi pond.
They don't say that.
Blacklist antivirus was invented in the 80s when we played music on CDs. We moved data on floppy disks and watched videos from tapes.
Times have changed, but Blacklist antivirus has not. Our whitelist was designed in this decade for today's threats, like ransomware.
PCmatic won the 2018 Fortress Cybersecurity Award for Threat Detection, Cyber Defense Magazine's 2018 InfoSec Award for Market Leader in Anti-Malware, InfoSecurity's 2018 Global Excellence Award for Most Innovative Security Product, and American Security's 2017 Homeland Security Award for Best Anti-Malware Solution.
We are award-winning, easy to use, and affordable.
PCmatic is made in America and is hiring. PCmatic protects home, business, and government agencies.
Go to PCmatic.com or a Cynics reseller.
At Visiting Angels, we understand the importance of family. This history, this bond, this commitment, this love. What we hold most sacred are the people we care for, our loved ones and yours. Whether you're nearby or miles away, you can be confident that we treat and care for your family like it's our own. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
We're being hindered by the Russian hoax. It's a hoax, okay? I'll tell you what, Russia's very unhappy that Trump won, that I can tell you. I was the one that let out 60 diplomats. I was the one that complained about the fact that Germany is paying billions of dollars for a ridiculous pipeline coming into Germany. They're paying billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. I was the one that complained about it.
All right, that was the president just a short time ago. His rally in Pennsylvania, ripping the Russia hoax. And just moments ago, President Trump, he arrived at Morristown Airport in New Jersey, as I believe he is headed for Bedminster. Joining us now with reaction on this and so much more is the host of the #1 rated cable show, 10 o'clock on Sunday evenings, Life, Liberty, and Levin. Thank me. God bless us. And the host of CRTV's CRTV's Levin TV.
Life, Liberty, and Levin.
Who has an entire
Levin
network
TV.
named after them except you?
Yes.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you? By the way, for 5 seconds, I want to join you in celebrating Rush Limbaugh's 30 years who made it possible for all of us to do what we do. The man has taken more spears and arrows, and it's such a great honor to call him my friend and what he's done for this country.
Well, I got to tell you, and I mean this, without talk radio for 30 years and him leading that way and forging that path, and without Fox, I honestly, let's talk about Acosta and how corrupt this news media is. And they're a bunch of crybabies. Oh, they're calling us fake news. Oh, they're incite. That's not violence. That's called freedom of speech. Just like, I guess they have freedom of the press to lie like they do.
I would say this, you know, a lot has been said about the president calling fake news the enemy of the people. I have a different take on this. Why do the press hate the American people? Over 65 million people, give or take, voted for Donald Trump for president of the United States. I wrote this down. Various press outlets, reporters, hosts, or their guests have called millions and millions of Americans Nazis, racists, deranged, cultists, deplorables, and even worse. How do the press in this country justify calling tens of millions of people such outrageous names? And we conservatives have watched as the press have destroyed, as they're seeking to destroy Trump, Palin, Bork, Clarence Thomas, Ronald Reagan, the list goes on and on and on. The D.C. press corps today is the least professional press corps in my lifetime. They think that their job is to make it impossible for the president to function, to sabotage him, and to advance the cause of the ideologues, to advance the cause of a rogue prosecutor by the name of Mueller. And so the press really needs to be circumspect, take a look at itself. It won't. As long as they keep putting clowns like Jim Acosta out there, who is a drama queen of sorts, and who like to report on themselves and talk about themselves, as long as it's impossible to tell a late-night comedian from Jake Tapper and Jake Tapper from the porn star and all the rest of it, this is going to be the reaction of the American people.
Well, if it wasn't so important, this is where, you know, thank God the American people have choices. And that we're a part of it is an honor, and I feel blessed to be able to do this, as I know you do. Let me ask you this and let you put on your attorney's hat for a minute. For those that don't know, you were the chief of staff for, I think, one of the greatest attorney generals ever, and that was Ed Meese. Why would they ever allow an illegitimate investigation run by Mueller and his merry band of Democratic donors to interview President Trump when there's no evidence? Collusion's not a crime, no evidence whatsoever. It's been a witch hunt from day one. Look at what they're doing with Manafort.
I think Attorney General Meese at this point would have stepped in. I honestly do. And Newt Gingrich was on to something there. Much of the power being exercised by the Deputy Attorney General in lieu of the Attorney General has nothing to do with Jeff Sessions' recusal. Jeff Sessions will not be attacked by the media as long as he's quiet. The minute he speaks up or does something, he will be attacked. Look, the Manafort trial, here's what I don't get. Most of the issues they're raising, if he did all these things, bank fraud, embezzlement, tax fraud, and all the rest, and he did it during the Obama administration, who was the FBI director? Mueller. Mueller was the FBI director. He did nothing about it, apparently, when he was the FBI director. Apparently, they didn't know anything. So now Manafort is the campaign chairman for Donald Trump, and they throw 17 left-wing Democrat prosecutors at the guy who worked for the special counsel. That is a matter for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia. That's number one. Now, Mueller's pushing the other cases to the Southern District of New York. Then they set up Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. Then they have a few lesser lights here where they get for false statements or something like that. What the hell do we have this special counsel for? You don't want to know why? Because he wants Trump, and he wants to interview Trump, and he wants to get him on obstruction of justice. And now he's threatening, I hear,
perjury trap.
That what he's going to do, you see, is issue a subpoena to pull the president in front of a grand jury. Let me tell you something, Mr. Mueller. You're not the king of the universe. And I hope the president's lawyers are listening to me and the president right now. Here's what you should tell Mr. Mueller. Have a meeting with him and tell him you're unconstitutional under the Appointments Clause. What you're doing is unconstitutional as far as we are concerned. We are not going to bow to you. This is the office of the President of the United States. You are a rogue prosecutor. Now get the hell out of my office and make sure the door doesn't hit you in the ass. I'll see you in court. That's the beginning and the end of it as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you, I'm watching this thing on Manafort. I don't know what Paul Manafort did in 2005. I don't think Donald Trump knew who Paul Manafort was in 2005. We know Judge Ellis was right.
Apparently Mueller didn't. He was the FBI director at the time.
I don't think the president knew him. I don't think anybody knew. But they pulled this out of mothballs just to put the screws to him so they could get him to sing or compose, as Judge Ellis said, so that they could prosecute or impeach Trump. In this whole tax case from 2005, there'll be no talk of Russia. There's going to be no talk about the campaign. There'll be no talk about his work for Donald Trump. There'll be no talk of collusion. This is just a cheap attempt to literally go after a guy they never would have gone after because they're trying at all costs to get the president.
And so the question is, Rod Rosenstein, who gives a rubber stamp to all this and created this in the first place, by appointing his dear friend, the man he first worked for at the Justice Department, Mr. Mueller, who was best friends with Mr. Comey. What a colossal disaster. You have Jeff Sessions, a man I've known for 30 years, who's sitting this out. He shouldn't be sitting it out. These are constitutional issues. And quite frankly, Mr. Mueller can't keep hiding behind his 17 left-wing Democrat donor prosecutors. Where the hell is Congress? I want to know what Mr. Mueller thinks he can do under our Constitution. I want to know what Mr. Mueller thinks he can do under those two Department of Justice memos as well.
Mark, you know when I say tick-tock, something big is coming that will blow this all out of the water. Thank you for being with us, the great one, Mark Levin. When we come back, Pastor Darrell Scott, he will join us saying that the president is probably the most pro-African-American president he has seen in his lifetime. He'll be here with Darrell Parks, and we've got the numbers next.
You've heard this, but I'm going to say it over and over because I'm really proud of it. Remember I said, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? African Americans, so many others. I said, what do you have to lose? You have high crime rates, you have horrible education, you have this. I went through a list of 10. That's what happened. African American, Hispanic, Asian. You have the lowest level of unemployment in the history of our country. How does somebody fight that, right? How does somebody fight it?
The president earlier tonight talking about how unemployment numbers for minorities, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, our vets, and 14 states, all record lows. Now, and yesterday, a friend of the show, our friend Pastor Darrell Scott, who also serves as the CEO of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump CEO, had this to say about the president during a White House meeting with inner city pastors. Take a look.
To be honest, this is probably going to be and I'm going to say this at this table, the most pro-black president that we've had in our lifetime because, and I try to, analyze the people that I encounter. This president actually wants to prove something to our community, our faith-based community and our ethnic community. The last president didn't feel like he had to. He felt like he didn't have to prove. He got a pass. This president, this administration is probably going to be more proactive regarding urban revitalization and prison reform than any president in your lifetime.
And Pastor Darrell Scott joins us now along with attorney Darrell Parks. All right, Darrell, the numbers are in.
Hi.
Simple question. Is the African-American community, Hispanic community, women in the workforce, Asian Americans, vets, are they doing better under President Trump? Or did they do better under 8 years of Obama?
We don't know which Darrell you're talking
to. Darrell Parks. All right, I'm sorry.
Well, Sharon, what we want to see the president really address the issue.
I asked you a specific question. No diversion.
No, well, I'm talking to the education issue, though.
Is the African-American community and all these minority communities, are they doing better under Trump or Obama?
Sean, historically black colleges are not doing better. Students who need need-based financial aid are not doing better.
How about unemployment and the economy, Trump or Obama?
But here's the challenge. What actually did President Trump do to help unemployment?
You know, Pastor, when you don't want to answer a question, that kind of means I put him in a corner called checkmate. I play chess. He can't answer this question because he knows the answer is Trump. It's not Obama. Pastor Scott.
Listen, unemployment is at an all-time low. I've lived through 12 different presidents. And contemplating that fact, this president is the only one that I'm aware of, and I'm aware of the prison initiatives, the urban revitalization initiatives. He's focusing and concentrating on making a concerted effort to improve the quality of living for Black America. So it's easy for me to say what I said on yesterday because, you know, I lived through a lot of different presidents, and I haven't seen any other take a proactive stance towards Black America like this president is doing.
Darrell Parks?
Well, let me say this. I think on the pro-Black issue, for example, this president is not appointing Black judges, Sean. And so that point alone, show me the numbers as to where he's appointing Black judges to the federal bench.
We had disproportionately in the Obama years, when you look at the millions more in poverty, food stamps, out of the labor force, not buying homes, the Black and Hispanic community were disproportionately impacted. Now the opposite has happened, and you can't even say, good job, President Trump.